Today is April 3rd in 1994. We're in the Lower Hamlet in the spring retreat. The spring is something that's beginning anew. We heard about a poem from King Tran Nhan Tong. The thunder of springs and all the trees sending up buds. So after this, the thunderous order of the spring, then all the plants suddenly germinate and flowers. So our practice of mindfulness is about renewal. When we're in touch with the miracles of the sky and the earth, if we know how to use the energy mindfulness, we can be in touch with everything. We can be in touch for the very first time. When we are in touch for the first time, we might have this surprise, like a baby who was just born and open her eyes and see everything is so strange, everything is new. So there is this surprise, this awe. 12 years ago in the Lower Hamlet, there was a baby, a newborn, that came from a refugee camp. So this boy was named Little Dog, Cha Con. So he was born, his mom gave birth to him in the winter. And Little Dog, he lived 3 or 4 months in a tiny room in the Lower Hamlet. It was in the dorm. In the room, there was a little heater, and the mom raised him in that room with that little heater. For 4 or 5 months, he only saw his universe with this tiny little room. And that morning, the sky was so beautiful, very blue. And I suggested that we should let little doggy comes outside. At that time, little doggy has this baby stroller that that they never used. A friend of Plum Village gave it as a gift. So his mom put on his clothes very carefully and carry him out, put him on the stroller so he could see the sky outside. That day I was there and I noticed the eyes of little doggy. He was his first time that would ever be in touch with the sky. He never seen anything so big, so vast like this. Because 4 or 5 months he was in this little room, very tiny room with a heater. So when I look at his eyes of the baby, I see this very big surprise, this awe. The first time the eyes of this baby was in touch with the sky, the vast sky. And I can see that surprise in him, in his eyes. But then the baby got used to it. And the baby was pushed on the stroller and he was in touch with a very, very beautiful spring. And that happened 12 years ago. So now little doggy is a 12-year-old boy. So the last winter retreat of the Buddha, it happened in the outskirts of Vasali, in the north of the nice of the Hindu River. During that winter retreat, the Buddha was very sick, so Ananda thought the Buddha could not pass through this illness. So Ananda walked by himself and he cried. But at that time, the Buddha used his own energy to heal himself. And so when Ananda came back, and the Buddha looks like he's returned to normal, so Ananda was so happy. So after that winter retreat, the Buddha wanted to go to the north. Maybe he wanted to come back to his hometown. But before he left Vasali, it's a very beautiful city. If you have a chance to, you should go visit Vasali. The friends at Plum Village, they had wanted to buy some places around there, Vasali, to have it as a meditation center to practice. But that dream is has not been realized yet. The Buddha knows that this probably was the last time that he would live in Vasali. So at the end of the winter retreat, he asked Ananda to gather all the monastics that live in that area, because that's after the summer retreat, so there were a lot of monastics around. So the Buddha wanted to meet them for the last time. And during these gatherings, the Buddha visited and taught to the nuns and the monks. And he talked a lot about the practice of sila, mindfulness, and insight. And especially, he often repeated the methods of coming back to take refuge in your island of self. The Buddha knew that one day when he entered nirvana, then a few of the monastics will feel lonely because there's no teachers guidance them on the side. So the Buddha taught them to that they have to transform themselves into these island of self, so they can take refuge in, and so that the forgetfulness will not push them down and drown them. So the island of self, the Zhao is an island that's out in the sea, and tự means the self. So đương tự Zhao, it means that come back to take refuge in the islands of self. Because in that island, there is a Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and there is mindfulness. And when we able to come back to the island of self, we have security. We don't have the ways of forgetfulness and delusions that will sweep us away. In these meetings around Vasali, there were many, but in each meeting, the Buddha always talked about the process of practice of the sila, mindfulness, and sila concentration and insight. And he always talked about taking refuge in the island of self. It's called Akta Dipa Vihari. Vihari means to take refuge, dwell happily. Atta is self, and Dita is the island. So taking refuge in the islands of self. In the morning, when he said goodbye to Vasali, and he was aware that this is the last time that he would see the city. So he was walking with Ananda, and the Buddha often have these sayings. Ananda, Vasali is beautiful, isn't it? This temple is so pretty, isn't it? So he was very aware of what's present around him. And in the end, the two of them headed north and they left Vasali. So in the Sutra Yuhan, or traveling, the sutra talks about the last few years of the Buddha's life. It was written down that there's a phrase like this. The Buddha returned, look back and look at Vasali with the eyes of a king elephant, of a leader elephant. This is probably the observations of Ananda, because he was the only one following the Buddha at that time. So he reported what he had seen and heard. So he said that the Buddha turned around, looked at the Vasali with the eyes of a king elephant. And after that, he turned back and headed north. To look with the eyes of a king elephant, it means that it means that he looked with all of his mindfulness. And he's practiced looking at everything at Vasali with mindfulness. And when we see someone for the last time, and we know that this look is very deep, and we know that maybe permanently we will never see this sight again. So that look sometimes can be called Maggi. So this means it's the last period, the last moment. We look and we can see all the importance of what we see. A look like this, of course, it will have mindfulness. The energy of mindfulness is spilling all over in our soul and in our eyes. We know that we see this for the last time. To look like this is a look of awareness. When we look and see something for the first time, we often have this surprise, confusion. So when we see that all this miracle of the object of our sight, and we look for the first time as well as looking for the last time, we need to have the energy of mindfulness. A practitioner needs to practice to look at everything as if you look at it for the first time, or as if you're looking at for the last time. And only in that state of awakening we can see like that. In the state of forgetfulness, then everything we look just become old and also ordinary. If we live in forgetfulness, then even ourselves, our life force, the whole world around, and the people we're familiar with, everything just become old and so normal and ordinary. And we don't treasure what is present in the present moment, even our life. If we live in with awakened state, then we can see that each seconds that is given to us is a treasure. So really deeply that moment. But if we have forgetfulness, and the forgetfulness that that over that covers up, and then we won't have life, because everything in ourselves, it becomes old and normal. Forgetfulness is a kind of forgetting of, because of this forgetting that we are not in touch with the the miracles. So we light the light of mindfulness so we can see something as if we see it for the first time or the last time. That is our practice. In the normal Vietnamese belief, they said that when a person dies, that person comes and they would be in front of the king of hell. And down there, there is this great mirror. It's called the mirror of our karma. So that whoever that dies, they would come in front of that mirror of karma, and they would look at the reflection. And they would see that all the things that have done in the past, all the good things, all the bad things that we have done, all the happiness and all the sufferings that we have caused to ourselves and to others. And we see each thing clearly in every details. We're standing in front of this bright mirror, the mirror of karma, and we will see everything in the past. We remember everything. We see clearly all of our unskillfulness, all the evil things, all the regrets, and all the things we have done in the past. And after we have seen that, then we can see that we accepted that the next stage, and then we will get reborn. And we can tolerate all the suffering and the pain, or receiving the happiness, as they are the results of all the karma we have done in our life. So all the things that we've done, we receive that. We practice that we are the inheritance of all of our actions, or our karma. When we die, that's the only thing that we can carry. And anything else, all the people we love, all the things we possessed, our assets and our bank account, we cannot bring that along. But we can only bring all of our karma's actions. And once we go down there, we look at the mirror and we can see clearly all the karmas that we have done. And then the king of hell will give a judgment. It's not depends on the good or the bad heart of the king of hell, but it's based on our karma. And we have to accept all the consequences of our actions in the past, the actions of karma. So in that traditional Vietnamese belief, then before we get reborn, we will go pass through this soup place, because you get hungry and you eat. We don't know what kind of soup that is, but we know that it's a soup of forgetfulness. It makes you forget. You're hungry, and the soup is very fragrant and smells good, and you eat and you eat one spoon and we forget everything in the past. So then when we get reborn as human, and we don't remember anything in the past. So that is a soup of forgetfulness. It's the soup of forgetfulness. Lu, chéo lu. So lu means to forget, to not know what happened or is happening. If we remember what had happened in the past, in our previous lives, then that probably be very good for us, but we forget. So is it that because we're not just eating the forgetfulness soup down there, but while living here, we still eat the soup of forgetfulness every day? All our mistakes that we can cause for ourselves and for others, we keep repeating the same exact mistake again. So all the things that we say that have caused destruction every day, actions that can cause a crack in relationship, and we keep continuing, keep repeating. And that means that even though we're living up here, we're still eating the soup of forgetfulness. There is an author. He wrote a story. He said there was a strong guy who saw the dangers of this the soup store. So he was trying to destroy the soup store. And with as a hero, he would ride his horse over and with a sword, and he come to that soup store in order to destroy that soup store. But him and the horse, when they come near that soup store, and the smell of the soup is so good that he forgot everything, him, the horse. So they came in and he ate the soup and he forgot. And there's another hero. He saw that this hero failed. So he thinks that if I come near, then it's very dangerous. So he stood far away, maybe 500 feet away, and he used a great arrow, a bow and arrow. So he pointed at that soup pot so he can break apart the soup pot. But when the arrow comes near, and the arrow smells the smell of the soup, and then it got distracted and it went sideways. So we are practitioners, and we know that we have to break apart this pot of soup of forgetfulness so that we don't eat this soup every day. But maybe we're not successful. We have the bell of mindfulness, we have the telephone ring, we have the clock, and we have the kung fu list, and we have this practice schedule and sitting meditations, but yet we still lose to that soup store. So we need to rely on each other, and we practice in a way that each day we eat the soup of awakening and not the soup of forgetfulness. And once we eat the soup of forgetfulness, we forgot that this person is my teacher, is my friend, or my brother, or my sister. And we forget that this is my root. We forget everything. And especially with this forgetfulness, when we're in touch with life, we see that everything in us and around us just feels so old, and that feels so mossy, they get moldy and so ordinary. So we're not very, we take things for granted. We don't treasure the life within us and around us. So the truth is, in awakened state, we can be in touch with our ancestor, our grandma, grandpa, the Buddha, our culture. It's very easy to be in touch with that. Very easy if we are awake. We can be in touch with the Buddha anytime, in touch with our spiritual ancestor anytime. Very easy. In touch with our grandparents, our cultures, as our country. Very easy. So we eat the soup of forgetfulness and we forget everything. So that touching is not successful. The king Tran Nhan Tong was a king who has who is able to beat the Mongolians soldiers and able to keep the independence for the Vietnam country. So when the king Tran Nhan Tong became a monastic and a Zen master, and usually he would use these sayings from the ancestors to talk to his to respond to his students. One day, his student asked the bamboo forest master asked something, and he took a line on the poem from an ancestor to respond, and that student comments that, why do you keep using the phrases of the ancestor to answer the people in this current time? Why do we need to use the spit and the flames of the ancestor? The spit and the flames is like all the saliva, the things that the ancestor has spit out. So why do we need to use these old things? So that the student use a very strong image. Why do you need to use the spit and the flames of the ancestor to answer us? So the king, the bamboo forest master, he read another line. He said, "Nhất hồi lim xúc, nhất hồi băng." Each time I hold, each time it becomes anew. If we have mindfulness, if we have awakening, then when we are in touch with anything, then that thing suddenly becomes new. Nhất hồi nghiêm xúc, nhất hồi tông. Each time we touch it, each time it becomes anew. So this is the secret of our practice. If you have mindfulness, do you look at your mom and you see a new mom? This morning you see your mom, you see this is a new mom because we have mindfulness. We become someone new. And when ourselves become new, everything we're in touch with becomes new. If we have mindfulness, then the blue sky this morning is a brand new sky. If we have mindfulness, then our brothers this morning becomes a brand new brother. Our youngest siblings become a brand new sibling. Everything is new because we have become new in ourselves. So becoming new is our practice, and only mindfulness can renew our life. With the energy of mindfulness, then our country becomes new. The sky becomes new. Our loved one becomes new. Everything, the sounds of birds, the sounds of the pine trees, everything becomes new. We have mindfulness, we have life. If we don't have mindfulness, but only forgetfulness, then that's the death. Today is the day of Easter, Passover. So it means that from death, we become awakened so that we can have life, true life. And the miracle that brings about this revival is the energy of mindfulness. In the sutra, the Buddha said somewhere one time, wake up, do not lay down and hold your corpse. So in forgetfulness, we are holding our corpse and we keep laying there. And if we have mindfulness, we can recognize that around us, there's so many people around us who are holding and walking around with the corpse. And these people live without living. They live as if they're dead. I think, let me